Hey everyone, I'm Shane Ireland. Welcome to another episode of Tasting Notes with Shane Ireland. I am really excited today. Our friends at HU Tobacco over in Germany have released a handful of new blends, so now I have some more stuff to add to my list to smoke through. And I went ahead and jumped one blend in particular to the front of the line because that's my prerogative, right? Like I get to smoke the stuff that I want to smoke if I want to smoke it. So today, I'm super excited to try the new HU Dark Sea. Dark Sea is really interesting, and on paper, definitely sounded right up my alley, which is the reason I chose to start here out of all of the blends that I still need to smoke through of the HU series. It is basically a riff on a navy mixture. And I'm saying navy mixture because this is not a flake. It is a ribbon cut tobacco. There are some chunks in there that are tobacco that looks like it was pressed at one point. But yeah, so basically you have Ready Rub Virginias, Kentucky tobaccos, Burley, Perique, and a hint of Latakia. So since Kentucky and Burley are both listed, I'm assuming that some of that Kentucky leaf is dark fired. Also, there's like a very rich and smoky and spicy character from this blend, both in the tin note and in the smoke. So compared to normal sort of navy blends, you tend to think of a navy blend as a Virginia, maybe a Virginia Perique that has the addition of some rum. This definitely does also have the addition of rum and aniseed. So rum and licorice, Perique, dark fired, and a touch of Latakia. So yeah, my interest was very piqued. I wondered how much the Latakia and the dark fired / Kentucky were going to come through. And I'm pleased to say that everything here is really balanced, and basically what you end up with is a spicy Virginia mixture that has a little bit of a boozy quality and a little bit of something extra from the aniseed. So, tin note, like I said, Dark Sea comes in these signature large 100 gram tins here. The mixture itself is gorgeous. It's mostly medium brown to chestnut. There's some darker black pieces in here. Again, some Ready Rub Virginia, a little bit of bright flecks, and some brighter pieces of ribbon. The tin note is crazy. It does remind me of a handful of other navy type blends, like blends that have like sort of a boozy quality to them. The spice is very apparent, like I said. I actually don't detect a ton of Latakia spice here, or I should say smokiness. I'm getting more of the Kentucky dark fired / Burley sort of notes, and maybe a hint of the Perique sort of funk and fruitiness. It's very deep, it's very rich, it's spicy, it's malty. There's something really floral about it, and that's kind of crazy because, okay, maybe from the Perique, maybe from the Kentucky, I do get those notes every once in a while. I think possibly the licorice and the rum are sort of exacerbating that quality and like making it more noticeable. But it is like a sweet, oh, you know what? Wow, I just remembered what that smell reminds me of. There are canyons in South San Diego where I grew up, and there's a plant in there, and I'm not sure if it's actually aniseed, but when you take the seeds in your fingers, it does smell like black licorice, but it's kind of sweet smelling, and that's what this smells like. It smells like a canyon in my hometown. Anyway, that's sort of an obscure one. I try to stay away from the obscure ones in these videos, but yeah, really, really nice. There's definitely a vegetal floral kind of a quality, a little bit of an earthiness and a healthy spice there. Not too much of the booze coming through in the tin note. Really blindly going into this, I would probably assume this was a very natural Virginia blend with maybe a little bit of something extra in there in terms of continental tobacco. Getting this bowl going again, just so much richness, a delicate spice. I do find that the spice builds a little bit over the bowl, and I'll come back to that in a little bit, but off the first, charring light and your relight, maybe the first quarter of the bowl, it's a lot more delicate on the retrohale than it is later on in the smoke. This is a tobacco that evolves quite a bit throughout the course of the bowl. But I find even though it's on the richer side, even though it's on the spicier side, and it's a little on the heavier side in terms of strength and flavor for a Virginia, it still is very well-rounded on the edges, almost like an aged tobacco would be. There's nothing harsh or sort of spiky here, especially on the retrohale. And I get more sweetness and more maltiness from the Virginias initially, and then as the bowl progresses, the continental leaves become a little bit more apparent, and some of the nuance and some of the complexity and the spice becomes a little more intense. I think one of the most remarkable things about Dark Sea is the rum and the aniseed flavoring, how well integrated they are into the blend. Neither of them are obviously perceivable to the smoker. So again, going into this blind, it would take me a little while to even identify that there was an additional flavoring, and I might land on that it was a boozy additional flavoring, but it's so well done and so subtle that the natural tobaccos here, and really specifically the Virginias, are the stars of the show, which is really really interesting in a blend that has so much in its makeup in terms of both Perique, dark fired, burley, and a touch of Latakia. Plus you have two very noticeable flavorings, rum and aniseed. These are all typical components in a variety of tobacco blends, but having them all together in this particular combination is not something that you come across every day. And the complexity factor is high, and sometimes I find that those sorts of blends can be sort of engaging and maybe consuming in a way that you're forced to really pay attention to them and the nuance. And sometimes you're even forced to pay attention to your technique in a way that allows you to appreciate all of those complexities. Whereas Dark Sea, for me, so far, seems to be one of those sort of pack and go, really comfortable blends, can fade into the background. This one definitely has enough flavor to stand up to smoking outside or to pairing to a strong black coffee, maybe a strong alcoholic beverage. But at the same time, too, it's really easy just to enjoy. I think if you're a medium to full Virginia smoker, even if you're like sort of a crossover English smoker, this could absolutely be an all-day blend for you. I would say that the strength and the flavor is just a hair past medium. And maybe for those of us that prefer something a little more mild, this would be better suited to the evening. But really, it's just a excellent, richer and darker Virginia blend with a perfectly balanced addition of several condimental tobaccos. I expected all of the condimental stuff to be way more in my face when I started smoking Dark Sea, and I'm really pleased how balanced it is. Yeah, I'm really pleased with how Dark Sea performs. I love the spontaneity of the burn. I love how much smoke volume you can get without it ever being harsh on the palate. The retrohale is crazy, and as the bowl progresses, it just gets more and more interesting, more and more complex. Definitely the spice factor is amplified after a little while there. You do get a little bit of warming spices and a little bit of that sort of barrel and vanilla character from the rum, and the licorice is just there. It's just present enough that every now and then I get a little wisp of it, but mostly it enhances the natural flavors and the spice from the burley and the Kentucky tobaccos. I do get a touch of sweetness every once in a while, and that's probably coming from both the Perique and the Virginias. The little wisps of smokiness, the Latakia is barely detectable. I wouldn't even worry about smoking this in a Virginia pipe. That's what you want to smoke this in. Either something neutral like a meerschaum or a cob, or one of your Virginia pipes. I actually chose a little J. Allen sandblasted apple with bamboo. Now I have smoked a variety of dark fired and Latakia blends out of this pipe, and even still I'm finding the Latakia to be just barely there. It more adds volume to the smoke, a little bit of creaminess, and just a touch of that sort of woody and barely smoky character. Yeah, this is a versatile and complex take on the Navy blend that's pretty unlike anything else on the market. I definitely recommend this for all the Virginia Perique guys out there. If you like Latakia mixtures that are a little bit more like McConnell's Latakia Flake or Sillam's Commodore, and if you like McConnell's Folded Flake, or even things like Marlin Flake, this one's going to be right up your alley. It's just different enough from the other Navy Flakes and Virginias on the market, and I think that the condimental tobaccos here, the Perique, the Kentucky, the Burley, and the Latakia, they're done so well, they're balanced so well, that none of them are in your face. This is very harmonious smoke from top to bottom, and so complex that I think it will take a couple more tins for me to really wrap my head around it. This is a good one, great aging potential, long legs on this blend for sure. Another winner from HU. Thanks, guys.